Hello, welcome to Torch Talk, and this is Mario Tortorello. Thank you for joining me for episode 2. So, episode 1, we did the introductions, told you a bit about myself, maybe too much about myself, and what the podcast was going to be about. So, now we have all that out of the way, we can get down in the nitty gritty and talk about shit. So, here we go. I'm about to say something that's going to be very controversial. A lot of you are going to disagree with it. May even get me canceled. It's only episode 2. It could be my last episode. But I try to be brave. I try to stick to my guns and my beliefs. So I'm going to say it. Just going to come out and say it. I liked Supergirl. There. I liked Supergirl and I'm not ashamed. So sue me. I know it's doing really bad. It's gotten horrible reviews. People on the internet are just trashing it like crazy. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't get it. I saw it Wednesday night at one of these fan first nights because there was one good seat left in IMAX in the middle because I like to sit in the middle. And I just thought it was a lot of fun very entertaining, which basically is all I kind of ask for in these kind of films, especially in the summer. I'm not expecting Citizen Kane. I'm not expecting The Dark Knight or even Batman Begins. I mean, it was better than Blue Beetle. It was better than Shazam. But yeah, I'm not really digging all the hate. Now, a lot of times I see something the first time and I hate it, and I watch it later and I love it. Sometimes I see something the first time and I love it, watch it later and I hate it. So maybe that could be the case. Is it a perfect movie? No, definitely not. But it was fun. But full disclosure, I mean, I wasn't expecting much from it to begin with, which made me pleasantly surprised. And I am a member of the AMC Stubs, so it's pretty much a free movie, so I don't feel like I'm out $30 if I hated it. But yeah, I'm kind of, I need to read more and watch more of the videos online because I'm not really understanding all the hate. Part of me wonders if people are disappointed because it's not your typical superhero movie. I know when I first read about it, I had read that it was going to be based on the comic book Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, Billquist Evely. And I'd never read that comic, and I didn't want to read it ahead of time. I didn't want it to color my perception of the film. But when I did read that, I did look it up, see what it was about, and I was kind of surprised that it has Supergirl going to all these different planets. He's helping this young girl avenge the death of her family, and I just thought, well, gee, I don't know if I want to see this. I don't know if this should be the starting off point for a movie. I mean, she's not, out there fighting crime. We're not getting some weird origin story. So I was kind of on the fence. And then, I started seeing the key art from the poster and some pictures, and I thought, man, she's not even wearing the suit. She just has like a blondie t-shirt on and jeans and a long brown coat. And yeah, I don't know if this is going to be for me. But then when I started seeing the trailer, I thought it looked kind of interesting. It looked kind of funny and entertaining, so I gave it a shot. But I was surprised because, like I said, I didn't want to see it when I saw it wasn't going to be a regular superhero movie, and part of me wonders if that's why a lot of people are disappointed. Because honestly, if you're going in there expecting Superman 2.0, you're going to be very disappointed. There's no bad supervillain trying to destroy the world, and she's trying to stop them. She doesn't even wear the suit until the finale of the film, which normally would really piss me off, but it worked. It worked in this film. And this is coming from someone who I'm a purist when it comes to comic books and when they make the movies. I'm trying to get better, when they make changes. I'm trying to get better if they stray from canon. In the Superman movie that came out last summer, I didn't really like the fact they changed it, that his parents sent him to Earth to rule over it. And, destroy people, rule over it, find a harem, recreate. Because in all the other ones, that was part of the beauty of it, was besides the fact that he was going to have these great powers and be able to survive here, they wanted him to be a beacon of hope for everyone on Earth since we're so imperfect and to help them. So, yeah, I was kind of disappointed when I saw that in the film. But then, it does make it interesting, which I admit. And now I kind of like it. It makes it more of he's chosen his path, and that's a good thing, so it's kind of different, but it works. Again, I was a little tiny bit annoyed that Crypto was Supergirl's dog and not his dog, because it's always been his dog in the comics and everything else. Again, I'm a purist. I'm getting better. I'm getting over it. And then when you see Supergirl, you'll understand why they made him her dog. But yeah, so I don't know if that's why people are disappointed, because it's not really a superhero movie. It's actually more of a sci-fi movie. There's lots of different aliens in there that kind of remind me of a cross between the aliens in the cantina scene from Star Wars and some of the aliens from Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's more of this quest movie. She's going to different planets. And one of the things that I feel is interesting is sometimes she's on planets with a red sun and she doesn't have powers. And that kind of makes it interesting. You know, she's not always invincible. And she goes to those planets because she wants to be able to get drunk, which isn't very Supergirlish that we've seen before in other iterations. But I guess it kind of works because, I mean, when you think about it, Supergirl's always been kind of a bland character. You know, she's always just basically been a female Superman. And I used to work for the CW, and we had a Supergirl show, and it was great, and Melissa was great, but still, it was like, she wasn't edgy. She was almost like a female Superman fighting crime. And when they did The Flash, they made it a little bit different. I really did like Sasha Calle's portrayal of Supergirl. You know, she was really a badass. I know from different articles I read, some people think it's a different universe and she's not supposed to be the regular Supergirl. And they even showed pictures of someone who looked like her with a similar suit and the short black hair. But, you know, I thought she was great. Even if she didn't look like in the comics, I thought she was great. I was kind of hoping they would keep her as Supergirl. And I feel bad because I know she was kind of hoping they'd keep her as Supergirl. I guess she had signed a contract for multiple films. And then once James Gunn took over DC, and that was kind of over with, which is kind of sad. But Millie Alcock is really good too. You know, she's a badass. She's more of an anti-hero, which, you know, we're not used to seeing with the super family. She doesn't really want to be bothered. That's why the tagline is truth, justice, whatever. She doesn't want to get involved. She escapes her trauma by going to Red Sun planet so she can get drunk. Clark keeps calling her in their spaceship on her vid phone saying, you know, when are you going to come back to Earth? I think if you don't, you know, spend some time here, you're really not going to get adjusted. I feel like you're getting further and further away. So he's concerned about her always being gone. So when the film opens, just a quick recap for those of you who may not know, it's her birthday. She turns 23. And she's getting drunk in a bar with Crypto. And she says to Crypto how home is wherever you are, buddy. And then this little girl on this planet, she sees this little girl. Her family gets murdered by this evil guy named Krem, which kind of sounds like something that gets caught in your throat. But hey, I didn't come up with the name. And she wants to get revenge against Krem and wants Supergirl to help her. Supergirl's trying to convince her, you know, you don't need to get revenge. You're going to regret it. But then Krem shoots Crypto with this kind of poison, and only he has the antidote, and she has 3 days to save Crypto. So in her mind, being the only family that she has, of course she wants to go wherever she can, whatever planet she can, to find Crypto, to find this antidote to rescue Crypto. And yes, I'm a sucker for dogs. I know that Crypto is completely CGI, and he's not real. It still gave me a lump in my throat when you thought maybe he's going to die. So sue me. And I'm kind of bummed they didn't use a real dog. I know he's based on James Gunn's crazy dog that he adopted named Ozo, I believe. But he's totally CGI, which is a shame because it would have been cool if he was real and you could see him, you know, walking down the red carpet and such. And that would have been fun. But no, he's CGI. But it is amazing. And I'm not always champion CGI stuff. I like the old days, I know, because I'm old, when they had real sets instead of green screens, real dogs, real people. But it is amazing how, you know, it looks like a real dog. When I first saw the Superman trailers, and I really did think it was a real dog, and then I watched the behind the scenes and saw that it was totally CG, and they have actors that are good at playing animals, running around, hopping and jumping. I'd feel like a complete idiot if it was me doing that, but God bless them. And so, yeah, that's just a CG, but you look at the fur and the eyes, wagging the tail. I mean, it is pretty amazing that it does look like a real dog, But it seems like they did do a lot of stuff in camera. It looks like they did build sets. The aliens do look like their costumes more than, CG stuff. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it is more of an adventure of her trying to find this guy so she can get the antidote for crypto, while also trying to teach this girl that revenge is not the answer, even though she probably doesn't truly believe that. And then at one point, we do have Lobo, which I thought Jason Momoa was really cool. I don't know if they're planning a Lobo movie, but if not, they definitely should. And it's a shame. I don't know after this movie is tanking if they would still go ahead with one. But he's definitely Lobo. And I know he's always wanted to play Lobo. And I kind of thought he was miscast as Aquaman. I thought he did a great job. I know he didn't really look the way we picture Aquaman in the comics. And that's great. I don't mind. Diversity is great. I love diversity. I just feel actor-wise, he wasn't that character, because he's the way he played it. But he's definitely Lobo. Like, you kind of see him in interviews, and he doesn't even need the makeup or the costume. He's definitely Lobo, and he's really funny in it. And he has good chemistry with Millie Alcock. And he has really good chemistry with Eve Ridley, who plays the little girl that Supergirl is helping. So it's really kind of different. Like I said, maybe I'd see it again and hate it. I don't know. I'd have to check it out again. Sometimes I do change my mind. A lot of my favorite movies of all time are movies that I see and I didn't like. And then I watch them again and I realize, wow, this is brilliant. Like, for instance, Blade Runner is one of them. I was only 13 when I saw it. And after seeing Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I thought, oh, this is going to be like an adventure film. It looked like it from the initial trailers. And then when I saw it, I always admired how amazing it looked, how beautiful it looks, the cinematography, everything from cinematography from Jordan Cronenweth, and of course Ridley Scott, who is one of my favorite directors. But at first, as a kid, I thought, I don't know, it's just kind of boring. It's a little slow. And then I think the next summer it was on HBO, and I watched it again, and it was like the best fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, I was like, what an idiot I was thinking this movie was bad. And now it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm like that with a lot of things. I remember I got the Peter Gabriel album. In America, it was called Security. It has Shock the Monkey on it. Back in England, no, it's just called Peter Gabriel. His first 4 albums until So, he just called each one Peter Gabriel. So some people call him Peter Gabriel 1, 2, 3, 4. Other people go by what's on the cover. But anyway, I wanted it because I really loved Shock the Monkey. I thought that sounded cool. It sounded amazing. And I just thought besides that song, this album is really weird. I didn't really like it except for the song Kiss of Life because I played drums at the time. Still kind of consider myself a drummer, even though I haven't played in ages, but I bang things a lot, so it kind of makes up for it. But I thought it was like the weirdest album ever and didn't really like it. I just kind of put it away. And then I got to high school and a friend of mine, he was talking about it, and I said I'm like, I have that album, and he's like, can I borrow it? I'm like, yeah, it sucks, but you can borrow it. So he borrowed it. When he brought it back, he just said how that's the greatest album ever. It's amazing, and I'm just like, what? And I listened to it again, and yeah, he was right. It was brilliant, and I loved it. So, and then I started listening to like a lot of his older stuff, and we got into Peter Gabriel, which led me into Kate Bush. But we're not talking about music today, even though we can, because it's my podcast. I can talk about whatever I want. But anyway, I'm just trying to say how, I've seen things and don't like it, and then I do. I've seen things that I love and later say, I don't. The one thing about watching movies over and over, when you see them on streaming, or HBO Max, or you have them on your digital thing, your CDs, DVDs, whatever. I'm aging myself. I'm the kind of person that, I do start to nitpick every little thing. Like, oh, I didn't catch that, and I didn't catch this. And I know, like, with Supergirl, Dean Cain said something. He tweeted something about Millie Alcock not being good looking, which I'm sorry, that's over the line. That's just not called for. I think she's a pretty girl, but that's not she's an actor. She's playing a role. That's what's important, and she did a great job. And I just think that's just stepping over the line. We don't need to talk about her looks, her body. That goes for any actress and actor for that matter. But he also complained about, well, if she's bulletproof, how does she have her ears pierced? So then James Gunn came and he answered that, well, maybe she went on a red sun planet, and since she doesn't have powers there, she got her ear pierced there. Or maybe since she grew up on Krypton, maybe she got her ear pierced before she even came to Earth. Because in this version of Supergirl, her father is also a scientist. And he is able, when Krypton starts to break apart, he's able to cover their city, which is called Argo City. And if you read the comic books, you know that Argo City is is the last remaining city of Krypton. It gets shrunken down and put into a bottle, and Superman keeps it in the Fortress of Solitude so it always would be safe. In this movie, it doesn't get shrunken down to be safe. He creates this big bubble over it, but people start getting radiation poisoning. They start dying. So he sends Kara Zor-El, with his daughter, it's Supergirl's real name, to Earth to find Superman. So by then, she's like 12 or 13 years old. She's a teenager. And that's what also makes the film interesting is, unlike Superman, she grew up on Krypton. And he never did grow up on Krypton. So that's one of the things that's interesting. She can't find her place because this isn't her home. This isn't where she grew up. It's not all that she knows. Like, all he knows is Earth and Smallville and his parents, and she doesn't have that advantage. All she knows is Krypton. She lived there, so it is more of a loss for her because she was there. She saw it destroyed, then saw her city destroyed that they thought was going to survive, where Superman didn't go through any of that trauma. He was a baby. He doesn't even remember Krypton. He was sent to Earth, got these great new parents, so it was really different. And the other origin Supergirl story, which is interesting, is that she was originally sent, and I think they use this in The Flash, and I think it used to be in the comics as well, but she's actually older than Superman, and she was sent in a separate pod behind Clark to watch over him as he grew up on Earth. But then she got caught in some kind of dimension thing, and it took her off course, and I guess it put her in like frozen animation. And when she finally got out of it, she hadn't aged, and by the time she got to Earth, Superman was an adult, and he didn't obviously need looking after, so it was weird that she was technically older than him, but he was older than her, Earth-wise. Did you get all that? I know, it's kind of complicated. But in this one, she grew up on Krypton until she was a teenager, then in Argo City, and then came to Earth after that. And Superman, I believe, is 10 years older than her. But yeah, so, it's so stupid that he's nitpicking on stuff like that. I mean, I'll admit, I do nitpick. Like, in Supergirl, when they flash back to when she lands on Earth by the Fortress of Solitude, she speaks to Clark in Kryptonian, and he doesn't understand it. But in the Superman movie, whenever he's upset, he looks at the message that his biological parents gave him, and it seems to understand what they're saying there. But again, that's nitpicking. And hey, if you want to nitpick, there's Spider-Man, which I love Spider-Man, one of my favorite superheroes, my favorite Marvel hero, along with Daredevil. But what always kind of annoyed me a little bit is, so he gets bitten by a radioactive spider, and now his skin can stick to walls and climb walls. Okay, but when he has his suit on, how does he still stick to walls? Because it's not his skin against the walls, it's his gloves and his boots. There you go. You can nitpick. And for those of us who are a certain age and remember the Super Friends, if you remember the twins, the Wonder Twins activate, the Wonder Twins, they would touch these rings, and the sister could be any kind of animal, and the brother could be any form of water. And there was always episodes where the sister would be flying the brother in a bucket. He was a bucket of water, and as he was flying, you'd see little drops falling out of the bucket here and there. But when he turned back, he was always whole. Well, if he was the water, and you see the little drops of water dropping out of the bucket, why wasn't he missing a finger? Why wasn't he missing a toe? So there. I mean, the way I look at it is, if you can buy into all that, you can buy into the fact that the girl has pierced ears. If that's your biggest problem with the film, well, then you need to get a life. And I'm trying my best to get one so I can stop nitpicking myself. But I guess what I really kind of found interesting with this film is, in Superman, the theme is more of what it means to be human. He's this alien, and they do have that scene that I like towards the end where he tells Lex that he is human. He loves, he hurts, he makes mistakes, he's not sure what he's supposed to do. That makes him human. That's the most human thing that can be. And in this film, the interesting theme is, what is home? Supergirl had this home. She came to Earth, but she first doesn't really feel like she's belonging, so she just keeps going on this journey to find things, to find her place. The only thing she has is Crypto, who he found her during her mother's funeral. He was a little puppy, so that they've grown up together, and that's all that she has. So it's her constant search for home. And I just thought that was really interesting. So what else do I want to talk to you guys about? So Craig Gillespie, he directed it. He did Cruella, the live-action film of Cruella de Vil. He did I, Tonya, or I, Tanya. He did a pretty good job. And the screenwriter, as a writer myself, trying to get somewhere in this business, I kind of do find it amazing. This is her first script. I guess she made a short film, and I haven't seen that short film, but it got her a job writing the original Supergirl movie, which I believe was supposed to have Sasha Calle, and then she had to rewrite it when the new people came to take over DC, and weren't going to go with that. Her name is Ana Nogueira, and I probably butchered that, and I apologize because everybody butchers my name, so I'm sorry when I have to butcher someone else's name. But yeah, so I mean, and also people blame the script, but you don't know. There's so many hands on it. There's so many cooks when it comes to a movie, especially these kind of movies, because they're supposed to be these blockbuster movies. I always feel bad. I feel bad, like, for The Flash, because I feel like it went through two mergers, and everyone kept changing everything. Originally, what I loved was Michael Keaton, he is my favorite Batman. He was going to be, originally when it was still owned by AT&T, he was going to be like the Nick Fury of the DC universe. And he was going to be in different films, kind of guiding people around, guiding these new heroes. And I mean, I love The Flash simply for Michael Keaton as Batman. Getting to see him as Batman again, that was a dream come true. Not going to lie, you can make fun of me and call me a pussy, which is fine, but the scene where he says, "I'm Batman," got a little choked up. Seeing that again. And I was real excited to see Batgirl, but then David Zaslav, when Discovery bought Warner Brothers, fucked that all up for everybody, and he wrote it off as a tax deduction, which really pissed me off, because, I mean, I'm sure if you put it on HBO Max, it would have done something. I mean, it was almost done, and it's not fair to all the people who worked on it, not just the actors, but the crew members. They worked really hard, and they don't even get to see the fruits of their labors. They don't even get a chance to see, how it was going to go. But I know, like, it was troubled, and it wasn't really their fault. Well, first, I think one thing is their fault, is they should have recast Ezra Miller after everything that happened with him being this weird cult leader and almost choking some woman. And I actually, when I read that he went crazy and tried to choke some woman, even though he said he was just kidding around, I figured right then they would probably recast, because they hadn't even started shooting yet. He had just been the Flash in Justice League and in a flashback of Suicide Squad and in Batman v Superman. So I thought for sure they would recast it, but they didn't. And it's a shame he's so troubled, because, I mean, he is a really great actor, and he was really good in that movie playing the different versions of Barry Allen. It was, like, pretty wild acting against himself. But they just kept changing everything over and over. And hopefully he's solid, because I'm going to give you some spoilers here. But, like, for instance, at the end, originally, when he's on the phone, saying, like, "Oh, Bruce, I fixed everything, everything's good," and you hear Bruce saying, "I'm on my way." When he gets out of the car, it's Michael Keaton. And then you see Sasha Calle as Supergirl, and that was supposed to be the original ending. He's still in that universe. He's with that Batman. Michael Keaton's Batman didn't die like they ended up doing. And then when someone else took over as head of it, they changed it ended with him and Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman there. But then once James Gunn came in, they decided they were going to start over, so they changed it, and they had George Clooney come as Batman, and then that was the end of it. And you kind of feel bad, because, I think the film suffered because of that, but that wasn't the filmmaker's fault. It was the powers that be. It's a corporate thing. That's the frustrating thing for me is, and when the studio started, even in the 70s and the 80s to a certain point, it wasn't so corporate. People who were creative were in charge of that stuff, and they made great films. Today, they don't really care about legacy. They just care about the bottom line. Same thing with all these mergers, because what do they care about legacy? They're just going to sell it later and make $1 billion, and they don't really give a shit, as long as they get rich off of it and fuck everybody else who works there. And I'm a little bitter, because I was laid off in June 2025 from Pluto/Paramount during that whole merger, and that will be another episode. We don't need to get into that today. But yeah, so I thought The Flash got a tough break because they didn't recast it. They kept changing the ending. And also, it unfortunately came out during the writer's strike. The actor's strike, so no one could do publicity, which really disappointed me because I could not wait to see interviews with Michael Keaton talking about being Batman again and putting on the suit again. I saw some while he was shooting it, but they weren't allowed to do interviews or do press or be. I think they could go to the premiere, but they couldn't speak during the premiere. But I just found that interesting, and it's a shame. But like I said, I was so happy to see Keaton back as Batman. I really wish they would do something with him again. And I find it amazing. It makes me feel old that when he first played Batman, he had a suit made for his son, Sean. And when he played Batman this time, he had a suit made for his grandson. And that just blows me away that now he has a grandson. I know he's like 70-something years old, but he doesn't look it and doesn't seem it. And he just did an amazing job as a Batman. I'll probably do another episode at some point talking about him as Batman with all the controversy and everything when he was cast. And as a fan of irony, I just love the fact that no one wanted him as Batman, and then when he quit being Batman, all those same people were so upset because they loved him as Batman, and they've always been wanting him to come back as Batman. So we got to see him in The Flash, but we were robbed that we didn't get to see him in Batgirl. And I've always been hoping at some point they'll just release it, but from what I read, I don't know what's true or not. All that footage, everything was destroyed. The directors tried to get it. They went in one day. They logged into the computer, and the one director, I don't remember their names. I'm sorry about that. They directed the last two Bad Boys films, which were really good. They're really, really cool directors, very talented. And at the very least, they were going to try to video it on their phone, so at least share something with people. But it was already destroyed. It was already gone, and they couldn't. I think there's one thing online where they show the two of them, and Michael Keaton comes up and joke around with them and says, "I'm Batman." And they all laugh, because you could just tell they're huge fans, and they're just can't believe Michael Keaton is in the movie as Batman. I heard that Brendan Fraser was really good as Firefly, even though the costume that I saw of him looked really, really strange and really, really weird. But anyway, yeah, so that's what happens when there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And I don't know if that is the case with Supergirl, but like I said, I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. Maybe I'll see it again when it comes out on HBO Max and be like, this is crap. I have a right to change my mind. That's the beauty of being human. But I'm kind of curious, if you saw it and you hated it, what was it that you hated about it? Was it boring? Did you not like it? Not enough action? Did you think it was going to be more of like the Superman movie? And if you liked it, then what did you like about it? I'm also curious because I haven't read why. I know Tom Holkenberg, who goes by Junkie XL, he originally scored it, and I guess they replaced his score at the last minute with another composer, Claudia something that with an S. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I wasn't going to talk about this. So, yeah, I don't know what happened with Tom Holkenberg. He had done the music to Batman v Superman, Mad Max Fury Road. So I don't know why he was replaced. I'm really curious about that. I'm hoping I can find out. So that's my take on Supergirl. Obviously, I know a lot of you are going to disagree with it, and you're going to come down on me hard. That's fine. We all are entitled to our opinions. So please keep your comments clean and respectful, and, just realize everyone has different taste. My point is I didn't go in there expecting Citizen Kane. I was hoping it was going to be a fun, entertaining movie, and it was. Also saw some interesting trailers. I saw the trailer for Clayface. I kind of like how they're taking the view of it as a horror movie, and the guy who directed it is one of my favorite horror directors. He did Dr. Sleep, and he did Hush, two really good horror movies. Dr. Sleep, as you may know, is the sequel to The Shining. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what he does with Clayface. And then they just started filming The Batman Part 2. I did really like the first Batman. I liked how it was very film noir, and he was more of a detective. I do hope this second film isn't 3 hours, because it didn't need to be 3 hours. And I'm wondering, are they going to bring Robert Pattinson into the DCU with David Corenswet? Or is it still going to be this whole separate universe like the Joker movies, and he's just the Batman back in his second year, and they're going to do their own Batman? I had read they were originally thinking of doing Batman and Robin, but not the Dick Grayson Robin, the Damian Wayne, Batman's son, who is the current Robin. For all of you who are not comic book geeks, I apologize because you have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. So that's my take on Supergirl. And next week, ladies and gentlemen, the Minions and Monsters movie comes out. And you don't know me, but I love the Minions. If you came to my apartment, you would see Minions everywhere. I have my plush Minions all over the couch. I have my other Minions from McDonald's on my coffee thing where I keep my coffee. I have Minions galore. When I go to Universal, I make sure to get Minions. I make sure to get my picture with Minions, even if I've already got my picture with that Minion. Now Universal Hollywood has a Minion dance party. I will not dance, but I will watch. And they're going to have the two new Minions, James and Henry, there, so that should be cool. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing the Minions. I go, I think, on July 3rd. It opens the 1st, so that'll probably be what the next podcast is about. So this is episode 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. You can find me also on Substack, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. I've been putting it on my YouTube channel. Actually thinking maybe making a video podcast. We shall see. So this is Sunday. I'm going to release it on a Sunday. I know I didn't do one last week. I apologize. I said it was going to come out Thursday or Friday. Now it's coming out on Sunday. Shit happens. We got to roll with it, right? But I hope that you guys all have a great week. And if it's hot where you are, keep cool. Bye, everybody.